Chapter 1. A Peculiar Child. The story of Albert Einstein begins in an unexpected place, a small town in southern Germany, nestled quietly among fields and hills, where every face, every house, seems to hold the steady rhythm of tradition. And in one of these modest homes, a boy named Albert sits, silent, distant, his gaze fixed somewhere far beyond his small familiar world. To most, Albert Einstein is no more than a quiet, strange boy with wild dark hair and a face that rarely shows a smile. Even as a young child, he's different, slow to speak, slower to socialize. To his family, he is a mystery. To his teachers, he is a problem. To his classmates, he is invisible. Albert spends most days alone, a curious, silent figure in the crowded classroom, blending into the background while his mind races in a world all its own. From the start, school is a struggle. The rigid rules, the endless drills, the strict lessons. It's as though each rule was made to hold him back, to keep his mind caged. His teachers expect obedience, order, memorization. But Albert is not like the other children. He doesn't want to recite facts or copy from the blackboard. No. He wants to know why. Why things fall to the ground, why the stars sparkle in the night, why a compass needle always points north. Questions stir within him like an unquenchable flame, but to his teachers his questions are disruptive, his silence is disrespectful, his wonder is a distraction. One day, in a rare moment, Albert speaks up in class. He asks his teacher why light moves so fast, why sound changes with distance. The class stares. The teacher frowns. "Young man," the teacher snaps, "you must learn to focus on your work." But how can he? Work feels meaningless. Numbers on a page are just that, numbers. He wants to understand something deeper, something no one else seems to see. And once more, his questions go unanswered. At home, he is quieter still, retreating to the shadows of his own mind. His parents, Herman and Pauline, worry. But Albert says little. He prefers solitude, a strange boy who prefers to watch the world rather than join in its games. His sister Maya sometimes joins him, but even she cannot truly reach him. He lives in a world of questions, and at the center of this world is a growing curiosity, a fascination that neither he nor his family yet understands. One day, Albert's father, Herman, gives him a gift that will change his life forever. A small, simple compass. It's just an ordinary compass with a thin metal needle. But to Albert, it holds the key to an entire universe. When he holds it in his hand, the needle swings, as if by magic, pointing north no matter how he tilts it. He turns it upside down, watches it spin. How can it always know? What makes it move? What is this invisible force that directs it? Albert's heart pounds as he stares at the tiny needle. In that moment he feels the weight of something far beyond himself, a force he cannot see, cannot touch, yet somehow controls everything, controls him. That compass is more than a toy. It's a window into the unknown. And in that moment, young Albert knows that he must understand it, even if no one else cares, even if he must spend his life searching for answers. The years pass, and Albert's sense of wonder grows, even as he grows more isolated. As he watches his classmates shout and laugh, he feels more and more like a stranger among them. His friends talk about games and adventures, but Albert thinks of the stars, of time, of the way the earth turns beneath them, the invisible things. While others seek fame, fun, or fortune, Albert seeks only understanding. His world, invisible to others, becomes his only companion. Then one day a letter arrives from his teacher. Albert, it says, is failing. His grades are low. His work is incomplete. His parents are called in for a meeting. They sit in the cold office of the headmaster, his teacher's voices rising in frustration, listing all the ways in which Albert has failed to fit in. But Albert, sitting there beside them, is not discouraged. Inside, he knows he is searching for something far greater than any grade on a report card. When he finally leaves school, the teachers breathe a sigh of relief, as if a burden has been lifted. But Albert's journey is only beginning. As he steps away from the classroom, away from the small, cramped world of rote learning, he feels a strange sense of relief. He's free. Free to think, to wonder, to explore. And explore he does. Day after day, he sits in his room reading every book he can find. He studies science, math, philosophy, anything that might bring him closer to the truth. He scours the works of great minds, Newton, Galileo, and wonders if he will ever understand what they saw. His father and mother worry for him. After all, what future is there for a boy who won't conform? But Albert is undeterred. He feels he is on the edge of something vast, something beyond the world he knows. In these quiet years, he begins to develop what he calls his thought experiments. Imagined worlds where he explores ideas in his mind, worlds that make sense to him, even if they seem absurd to others. He imagines travelling with light, racing alongside a beam of it, watching how it moves, how time stretches and changes around it. To him, these are not just fantasies. They are real, they are vital, and he knows somehow that they hold the answers he seeks. As the chapter closes, we see Albert, a boy alone with his thoughts, his dreams, his questions. Around him, the world moves on, oblivious to the journey he has begun. And though no one else may see it, Albert senses that he is on the path to something incredible, something that will one day change the way the world sees itself. He is no longer just a peculiar child, no longer out of place. He is Albert Einstein, on the brink of a discovery that will redefine the universe itself. And so, the journey begins. Chapter 2. The Compass That Changed Everything. It was an ordinary day, or so it seemed. But in young Albert's life, this day would be far from ordinary. Little did he know that a single, simple gift would ignite the spark of genius within him, a gift that would change the course of his life forever. Albert was only 5 years old, a small child with big, questioning eyes. That day he wasn't feeling well, so he lay in bed, bored and restless. His father, Herman, stepped into the room, a small object hidden in his hand. Smiling, he knelt beside Albert's bed and placed it gently in the boy's palm. It was a compass, simple, small, with a silver needle silently pointing north. A toy, perhaps, to an average child, but to Albert this was no ordinary object. Albert held it up to his eyes, staring at the needle. He turned it to the left. The needle swung back to the right. He tilted it upside down. It swung right back to the same spot, always north, always steady, no matter how he moved it. How did it know where to go? What force was keeping it in place? Questions flooded his mind, unstoppable, endless. Could it be magic? Was it some trick his father had hidden inside? He asked, "Why does it do that?" His father's answer was simple. "It just does." But to Albert, that answer was not enough. It couldn't be enough. There had to be something behind it, something he could not see, something powerful and invisible guiding this needle. That small compass became his world. He carried it everywhere, showing it to his mother, his sister Maya, anyone who would look. "Look," he would say, turning it in every direction. "It always points north." But no one else seemed to see the mystery he saw. To them, it was just a compass, nothing more. But to Albert, it was everything. A puzzle, a mystery, a force greater than anything he had known. Days turned to weeks, and still his mind raced with questions. When he closed his eyes at night, he saw the compass needle spinning, steady, strong, pointing north. In his dreams, he imagined invisible lines stretching through the earth, like threads pulling everything in place. He wondered, what if there were forces everywhere, forces that kept things moving, that kept everything connected? But if they were invisible, how would he ever see them? As Albert grew older, the compass stayed with him, a small reminder of that one day, that one question that would not let him rest. In school, he asked his teachers, "What force makes a compass point north?" They would only shrug and say, "It's magnetism, Albert." But what was magnetism? Why did it work? How did it move things without even touching them? The teachers had no answers, only irritated looks. "Why can't you just accept things as they are, Albert?" they would say. But how could he? The compass had shown him a world beneath the world he saw, a hidden world, one full of forces and mysteries waiting to be uncovered. His teachers grew impatient with his questions, labeling him as difficult, rebellious. They wanted him to memorize facts, to do as he was told. But Albert couldn't accept simple answers anymore. Every answer led to more questions, and he felt he was only scratching the surface of something vast. And so he turned away from his teachers, away from the classroom lessons that felt meaningless, empty. Instead, he spent hours alone, reading, imagining, filling notebooks with ideas, drawings, strange thoughts. He would stare at the compass, wondering, what else is out there, hidden from sight? One evening, as he watched the stars flicker above him, he thought about how small he was compared to the vastness of the sky, compared to the forces he could not see. A strange feeling filled him, a mix of excitement and fear. What if there were endless forces, stretching across the universe, invisible but powerful? What if they controlled everything, even time, even space? It was as if the compass had opened a door in his mind, a door that could never be closed. Each day, as he gazed at that small silver needle, his imagination grew wilder, his curiosity deeper. He began to understand that his questions would take him beyond the world of his childhood, beyond school, beyond anything his teachers could teach him. But that journey he knew would not be an easy one. His curiosity set him apart. His family loved him, but didn't understand his obsessions. His teachers were frustrated with him, and his classmates ignored him. Many times he felt lonely, isolated. Yet he knew he could not give up. Not when there was so much left to uncover. As he grew older, his questions about the compass led him to other questions, deeper ones. How does light travel? What is space? What is time? He was only a boy, yet his mind had become a world of its own, filled with ideas that were not yet formed, but waiting for him to understand them. One day he made a promise to himself, a quiet promise that no one would hear. "I will find the answers," he whispered. "I will understand the invisible forces that shape our world." And though he did not know how or when, he knew he would never stop trying. And so, from a small compass, Albert's journey truly began. It was the beginning of a life that would challenge everything the world believed about time, space, light. A journey that would shake the very foundations of science. Chapter 3. Lost in the System. Young Albert Einstein, now a boy of school age, walks the halls of his German school. From the outside, he seems like any other child, but inside, he feels trapped, caged, as if the walls around him grow taller each day. The school system is strict, unyielding. Every day is the same, rigid schedules, repetitive drills, endless memorization. The teachers' voices drone on and on, commanding, directing, demanding obedience. "Stand in line," they shout. "Memorize these formulas, repeat after me." And each command feels like another chain around Albert's mind, another wall blocking his thoughts, his questions, his need to understand. Albert tries to fit in. He tries to be like the other children. He sits quietly at his desk, watches the teacher scribble on the blackboard, and does his best to focus. But his mind rebels. His thoughts drift, spinning off to ideas beyond the classroom walls. He thinks of the compass needle, of the stars in the night sky, of questions far bigger than the lessons on the board. Why must I memorize facts I don't understand, he wonders. Why am I not allowed to ask why? One day, frustrated and desperate, Albert blurts out in class, "I want to learn, not memorize." His voice is fierce, filled with a passion that surprises even him. The classroom falls silent. His classmates stare wide-eyed as if he has broken some unspoken rule. His teacher's face twists with anger. "You think you know better, do you, Einstein?" she snaps, her tone cold, dismissive. To her, Albert is simply rebellious. To Albert, though, this system feels like a prison. His teachers label him as trouble, difficult, a boy who does not belong. They send him to the headmaster's office, where he is warned again and again to obey and conform. The pressure is relentless, suffocating, and yet inside his desire to know grows even stronger. Every restriction, every rule makes him more determined. He feels like a flame, trapped in a box, burning brighter with every failed attempt to snuff it out. But it is not just school that makes him feel lost. At home, his family is also concerned. His mother, Pauline, worries that her son's attitude will get him into trouble, that his stubbornness will close doors for him. His father, Herman, doesn't understand why his son cannot simply play by the rules. "Albert," he says gently, "why must you make things so difficult?" But Albert has no answer. He knows only that he cannot silence his mind, cannot force himself to accept things that do not make sense. Each day, he returns to school, sitting through the same lectures, the same routines. His classmates see him as different, a boy who does not join their games, who sits alone at lunch, who speaks only when he must. He feels more and more like a stranger among them, as if he belongs to another world, a world of questions, of mysteries. He wonders if he is the only one who feels this way, the only one who longs for something more, and so he retreats further into his thoughts, finding solace in the world of books. In the pages of science books, philosophy books, he finds voices that echo his own questions, minds that seem to reach out to him from across the ages. He reads about Newton, Galileo, thinkers who dared to question the world around them. With each page he feels a spark of hope, a glimmer of something he cannot yet name. If these men dared to question, then so could he. But school only grows harder, more frustrating. His teachers grow tired of his questions, tired of his refusal to simply accept what he's told. One day his teacher scolds him in front of the entire class. "Einstein," she says, her voice sharp and cold, "you will never amount to anything if you cannot learn to obey." Her words cut deep, a wound that stings even as he tells himself they are wrong. Deep down, Albert knows he cannot be what they want him to be. He cannot silence the questions that fill his mind, the endless desire to know, to understand. And so he begins to withdraw from school altogether. He skips classes, finding refuge in libraries, wandering through the shelves, filling his mind with ideas that seem closer to the truth than anything he hears in the classroom. He begins to dream of a life beyond these walls, beyond the limits of his small town, his small school. He dreams of places where he might be free to learn, to explore, to ask his questions without fear. But this dream too feels distant, almost impossible. He is still a boy, bound by the rules of his family, his school, his society. He knows that leaving is not something he can simply decide, not yet. And so he endures, waiting, hoping for a way out, for a path that will lead him to a place where his mind can finally be free. One afternoon, he stares out the window, watching a bird fly across the sky. For a moment he feels a strange kinship with it, the freedom of flight, of going wherever it wants, without rules, without barriers. "One day," he whispers, "I will find my way out. I will fly too." It is a promise he makes to himself, a promise that he will carry with him, through all the struggles, all the doubts, all the dark moments yet to come. For now, though, he is still trapped, still lost in the system that cannot see him for who he is. But inside the fire remains, burning, waiting. And though no one else sees it, he knows that someday, somehow, he will break free. This is only the beginning of Albert Einstein's journey, a journey that will one day change the world. Chapter 4. The Power of Imagination. Albert sits alone, lost in his thoughts. But these aren't just any thoughts. His mind is a world of wonders, where time bends, stars collide, and light moves faster than anything on Earth. He's not just a boy sitting in a room. No. In his mind, he's travelling through the very fabric of the universe. Albert's imagination is powerful, boundless. While other children play games, he imagines himself racing alongside a beam of light, wondering, what would it be like to move at the speed of light? Would time slow down? Would space itself change? He doesn't just see the light, he feels it, senses the energy, the speed, the thrill of something infinite. He calls these visions thought experiments, a way to explore the impossible, to travel in his mind to places he could never reach in the real world. And each experiment feels like a step closer to an answer he doesn't yet have. He imagines himself in empty space, floating, weightless, surrounded by nothing but stars. What if I could reach out and touch one? He wonders. What would it feel like? What would happen to me? One evening, sitting by a window, he watches the sun setting, its light stretching across the horizon. A thought strikes him. What if light isn't as simple as it seems? What if it holds secrets, if it changes as it moves, if it connects everything in the universe? He imagines a world where light is more than just brightness, more than just energy. A world where it is a force, a messenger between time and space. In his mind, he sees himself holding a clock while riding on a beam of light, rushing forward at impossible speeds. He wonders, would the clock still tick the same way? Would time pass slower? Faster? These questions fill his days, filling notebooks with sketches and ideas, thoughts too strange for anyone around him to understand. And the more he imagines, the more he feels he is on the edge of something incredible. But to those around him, Albert is simply daydreaming. His teachers, his classmates, even his family see only a boy staring into space, silent, distant. But Albert doesn't mind. He knows that his mind is working in ways they cannot see, exploring ideas they cannot yet grasp. He feels something stirring, a growing sense that these thought experiments are leading him somewhere no one else has been before. One day he asks his teacher, what would happen if I travelled at the speed of light? His teacher frowns, puzzled. That's impossible, Albert, she says, shaking her head. No one can travel that fast. But Albert is undeterred. He knows that just because something is impossible now doesn't mean it will always be. His imagination, his experiments in his mind, feel as real to him as anything in the world. As the days pass, he grows bolder with his ideas. He imagines bending time, folding space, wonders if there are forces around him, invisible but strong, like the pull of the earth beneath his feet. He wonders if space itself is something that can bend, that can stretch, that can hold secrets yet to be discovered. To him, every thought is a doorway to a new idea, a new question, a new world waiting to be understood. In these imagined worlds, Albert begins to find answers, or at least the beginning of answers. He starts to understand that time and space are not separate, that they are somehow connected. And the more he thinks, the more he realizes that light, time, and space are all part of something greater, something boundless. What if, he thinks, they are all part of the same thing? The idea excites him, fills him with a joy he can hardly contain. But with this excitement comes frustration too. He has no one to share these ideas with, no one who understands the worlds he sees in his mind. His classmates see him as odd, his teachers see him as distracted, and his family worries about his future. But Albert cannot stop. He knows somehow that these ideas are important, that his imagination is leading him somewhere no textbook could take him. Late at night, he sits in the dark, staring at the stars. He imagines each one as a distant sun, wonders if there are other worlds out there, other minds like his, thinking, wondering, dreaming. His imagination grows, stretching farther and farther, reaching into the unknown. And with each thought experiment, he feels closer to the answers he seeks, even if he cannot yet put them into words. One afternoon, as he watches a bird soar through the sky, another thought strikes him. What if light could move through time? What if time itself is not fixed, not solid, but something that can be bent, stretched, even slowed? The idea is wild, beyond anything he has read or learned, but in his mind it feels right. It feels true. He realizes that he is beginning to understand something no one else can see. These thoughts become his constant companions, his guides, pushing him to explore more, to question everything he knows. And though the answers remain just out of reach, Albert feels closer than ever. Each thought experiment, each imagined journey feels like a piece of a puzzle that will one day reveal something extraordinary. And so, with nothing but his mind, Albert continues his journey, a journey through time, through space, through ideas no one else dares to imagine. The seeds of his theories are planted quietly, in the depths of his mind, waiting to grow. For now he is still just a young man with a wild imagination, a mind filled with questions, a heart filled with wonder. But soon, very soon, the world will come to know the power of these thought experiments, the power of his mind, and the unimaginable discoveries waiting just around the corner. Chapter 5. The Long Road to Freedom. Albert is 17, restless, frustrated. The strict walls of Germany's education system feel like they're closing in on him, suffocating every idea, every question that fills his mind. Rules, rules, rules. Everywhere he turns, there's another rule, another test, another rigid lecture that drains the colour from his dreams. He cannot stand it any longer. He needs something more. A freer life. A life where he can think without boundaries. Albert dreams of a place where he can be himself, where his curiosity won't be a burden, where his questions won't be dismissed as nonsense. He knows that place isn't here. And so he sets his sights on Switzerland, a country that seems to offer everything he craves. There, he hears, students are encouraged to think, to explore ideas on their own terms. It sounds like a paradise, a world of freedom, of possibility. But how will he get there? Albert has no money, no connections, and his family, while supportive, is struggling. They cannot afford to send him to a new country, to pay for his schooling, his housing. Yet Albert's vision is strong, powerful, burning within him like a flame that will not go out. I'll find a way, he tells himself. I have to. With little more than a bag of belongings and a head full of dreams, Albert sets off on his journey. He travels by train through long stretches of countryside, watching as each mile takes him farther from the life he knows. The journey is difficult, exhausting, but in his heart he feels a strange excitement, a sense that he is moving towards something greater, something that has been calling him for years. When he finally arrives in Switzerland, he feels a freedom he has never known. The air feels lighter, the streets wider, the people different. But his challenges are far from over. Money is tight, and he struggles to make ends meet, often going without food, living in cramped, cold rooms. Yet he never complains. Each day he is closer to his dream, closer to the life he has always wanted. Albert enrolls in the Swiss Federal Polytechnic in Zurich, eager to begin his studies. Here at last, he feels like he can breathe. The classes are challenging, yes, but in a way that excites him. His professors encourage him to think, to question, to dig deeper. For the first time, he feels that his curiosity is a strength, not a flaw. He spends long hours in libraries, poring over books on physics, mathematics, philosophy. His mind is alive, racing with ideas, connecting thoughts he has held for years. But it's not all smooth sailing. He soon realizes that even here, he must still follow rules, still attend classes, still face exams. Some of his professors admire his brilliance, while others find him arrogant, rebellious. He is often late to lectures, sometimes skips them altogether, preferring to study on his own to pursue questions that are not part of the curriculum. To others, he may seem reckless, unfocused. But to Albert, this is freedom, the freedom to explore ideas that others cannot see. Despite these challenges, he excels. He spends every waking moment thinking, writing, experimenting in his mind. He has little time for socializing, though he does form a close friendship with a fellow student, Mileva Maric, a brilliant and determined woman who shares his passion for science. Together they discuss theories, debate ideas, their minds sparking off one another in ways that excite him. He feels he has finally found someone who understands him, who sees the world through the same curious lens. Yet, as his studies draw to a close, another challenge looms. Jobs are scarce, and with his reputation as a rebellious student, his options are limited. Employers want reliable candidates, people who follow rules, who do as they're told. But Albert is different. His reputation follows him like a shadow, and he struggles to find anyone willing to hire him. It is a bitter disappointment. He wonders if his dream of freedom, of making a mark on the world, was only a fantasy. But Albert doesn't give up. He is determined, resilient. And so he takes a job in a small patent office in Bern, a modest job far from the glamorous world of science he had imagined. But here, among the papers and inventions, he finds something surprising. Time. Time to think, time to imagine, time to explore the questions that still burn within him. In the quiet of the office, his mind is free to wander, to experiment with ideas that others have never considered. And it is here, in this humble job, that Albert begins to shape the theories that will one day change the world. He imagines himself racing alongside light, bending space, twisting time. The questions he has carried with him since childhood return, clearer, stronger, and he realizes that the answers may be within his reach. He fills notebooks with calculations, drawings, notes, ideas that seem to defy logic, to push against the boundaries of known science. Albert knows that his journey is far from over, but he feels deep within that he is on the right path. The struggles, the disappointments, the challenges, they have all brought him here, to a place where his mind is finally free. He is ready to make his mark on the world, ready to share the ideas that have grown within him for so long. This is just the beginning of Albert Einstein's legacy, a legacy that will stretch far beyond his own lifetime, shaping the way humanity sees the universe itself. Before we begin Chapter 6, a quick note for our listeners. You're currently listening to this audiobook on WooEnglish. Remember, this content is specially made for WooEnglish listeners only. If you're hearing it on any other channel, it may be a violation of WooEnglish's rights. Please ensure you're tuned into the right source to fully enjoy and respect this audiobook journey. Now, let's continue the story. Chapter 6. The Clerk Who Questioned the Universe. Albert Einstein sits at a modest desk, surrounded by stacks of papers, inventions, patents from inventors across Switzerland. A small, dimly lit room in a patent office in Bern, Switzerland. Not exactly where you'd expect to find a man who would one day change the world, but here he is, working as a simple clerk. To everyone else, he's just Herr Einstein, a patent examiner, a man whose job is to review and organize other people's ideas, to make sure each invention is unique, practical. Each day he arrives on time, walks to his desk, and sifts through endless documents. And yet, this quiet office, this simple job, offers him something more valuable than any prestigious lab could. Time. Time to think, to wonder, to explore the universe in the only way he can, through his mind. Albert's co-workers have no idea of the thoughts racing through his head as he examines their papers, no idea that, as he reads descriptions of machines and tools, his mind is reaching far beyond these walls. Each new patent is a small window into the workings of the world. each idea sparking questions that lead him to other questions, other mysteries, other realms of science, and slowly, day by day, he begins to challenge the very foundations of physics. Between the endless papers and routine reports, Albert's mind wanders. To light, to time, to space. He imagines himself racing alongside a beam of light, wonders if time itself would slow down or even stop. He's no longer just a clerk at a desk. He's a man on the edge of a discovery that no one else could imagine. He pushes aside his work for a moment, grabs his notebook, and scribbles down a thought. What if time isn't fixed? His heart races. Could it be possible? Could time be flexible? And it's a thrilling idea, a daring thought that challenges centuries of science. But to Albert it feels like something real, something true. The quiet of the patent office, the steady rhythm of the workday, the hum of the ticking clock on the wall, all of it fades as his imagination takes over. He's just a clerk, yes, but he knows he is on the brink of something extraordinary. Each day, Albert's ideas grow, unfolding in new and surprising directions. The questions from his childhood return, but now they're sharper, more powerful. He wonders, what if space itself can bend? What if light isn't just a wave but something more? And what if there is a way to connect all of these ideas into one single theory, a theory that explains everything? The thought fills him with excitement, with a sense of purpose he has never felt before. And so, day after day, Albert juggles two worlds. In one, he is Herr Einstein, the diligent clerk, reviewing inventions, correcting patents. In the other, he is a man racing through the fabric of the universe, imagining worlds beyond worlds, time bending, space stretching. He writes his ideas in secret, filling notebooks with sketches, calculations, strange symbols that hold the seeds of something groundbreaking. One day, while walking to work, he stops suddenly, struck by a thought. ESMC2. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. The idea is simple, almost too simple, yet it feels as if the universe itself has whispered it to him. Could it really be that energy and mass are the same? That they are bound together by light itself? The implications are vast, earth-shattering. He realizes in that moment that he has discovered something that could change the world. Something that no one else has even dared to consider. Albert cannot wait any longer. He gathers his ideas, writes them down in papers that are as bold as they are brilliant. On the electrodynamics of moving bodies, a new determination of molecular dimensions, the photoelectric effect. He sends them off, daring the scientific community to see what he has seen. He knows that his ideas are radical, perhaps even impossible in the eyes of others. But he also knows, deep within, that they are true. The world is slow to notice. To them he's still just a clerk, a young man with wild ideas, nothing more. But as his papers circulate, as scientists across Europe read his words, a quiet excitement begins to build. His ideas are daring, revolutionary, challenging the very nature of time and space. One by one, scientists begin to realize the importance of what he has written. They begin to see that this quiet clerk in Bern may have unlocked secrets that could change the way they understand the universe itself. Albert watches as his theories ripple through the world of science. His name, once unknown, begins to spread. Einstein, they whisper, the man who dares to question everything. Some praise him as a genius, a revolutionary. Others scoff, calling him arrogant, foolish. But to Albert, the opinions of others don't matter. What matters is the truth, the thrill of discovery, the realization that he has finally begun to understand the mysteries he has chased since he was a child. In the quiet of the patent office, Albert continues his work, both as a clerk and as a thinker. He knows that this is only the beginning, that there is much left to discover. He has taken the first steps, has seen a glimpse of something extraordinary, something that will reshape the world. And though he is still just a clerk, he knows deep within that he is on the path to greatness. Albert Einstein, the clerk who questioned the universe, has set the stage for a legacy that will echo through time, reaching far beyond the quiet walls of this patent office, far beyond the limits of his imagination, into a future that will forever remember his name. Chapter 7. 1905, the miracle year. The year is 1905, and Albert Einstein is unstoppable. This is no ordinary year, no ordinary time. This is the beginning of something extraordinary. In the quiet city of Bern, Switzerland, in a small room filled with books, papers, and scribbled notes, a revolution is brewing. The world is about to change, and it all begins here, with a young patent clerk who dares to challenge everything. Albert's mind is alive, blazing with ideas, each one more daring than the last. He writes paper after paper, his pen racing across the pages as if it has a life of its own. He barely eats, barely sleeps. He knows he is onto something big. His heart pounds with every sentence, every calculation as he pours his mind onto the page, and as he finishes each paper he feels it. A certainty, a power, a feeling that he is reaching for the truth. The first paper is daring. He tackles the photoelectric effect, a puzzle in physics that has stumped scientists for years. What if light is not just a wave, he wonders, but also a particle? The idea is wild, radical. He proposes that light can behave like tiny particles, hitting metal and releasing energy. It's a new way to look at light, a new understanding of how energy works. To others it might sound impossible, but Albert knows he has found something real. He sends the paper off to Annalen der Physik, one of the most respected scientific journals. He waits, nervous, excited, his mind already moving on to the next idea, the next challenge. And soon, he's ready with another paper. This time he dives into the mystery of atoms, proposing a way to calculate the size of molecules, to measure the tiniest parts of matter itself. It's bold, ambitious, but for Albert, it's just the beginning. Then comes the theory of special relativity. This paper is unlike anything the world has ever seen. He dares to question time itself, suggesting that it isn't fixed, that it can change depending on speed, on motion. He imagines himself racing alongside light, sees time slowing, bending, stretching. In his mind he feels it, understands it in a way that no one else has. He writes down his thoughts, his theories, as if they are flowing directly from the universe into his hand. Albert's hand shakes as he finishes this paper, as he writes the final words that will forever change the world's understanding of space and time. But he isn't done yet. There is one more idea, one more revelation that will complete his work. It's a simple formula, elegant yet powerful. ESMC2. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. With this one equation, he proposes that energy and mass are two sides of the same coin, that matter can be transformed into energy, that the universe itself holds unimaginable power. With these 4 papers, 4 masterpieces, Albert steps into history. He sends each one out, quietly, almost humbly. To the world, he is still just a clerk in a small patent office, a man with no lab, no funding, no team. But Albert doesn't care. He knows that his ideas, his theories, have a life of their own, that they are like seeds planted in the soil of science, ready to grow, ready to change everything. The papers reach scientists across Europe, across the world. The reaction is disbelief, shock. The ideas are too strange, too bold, almost unbelievable. Who is this Einstein? They ask. A clerk from Bern, with no formal position, no real background? But as they read, as they study his equations, they realize that these are not just theories. These are answers to questions they hadn't even thought to ask. Albert's fame spreads like wildfire. His name is whispered in universities, discussed in conferences, debated in newspapers. Some call him a genius, a visionary. Others call him reckless, a dreamer with ideas that challenge the very core of physics. But even his critics cannot deny the power of his ideas, the simplicity and elegance of his equations. They may not agree with him, but they know they must pay attention. And Albert? He watches from his small apartment in Bern, astonished, amused. He didn't set out for fame, didn't plan to shock the world. He simply wanted to understand, to find the answers to the questions that had filled his mind since he was a child. The attention, the praise, the controversy, it's all new to him, strange. But he knows that his journey is just beginning. For years, the world of physics had been built on the solid, unchanging ideas of giants like Newton. But Albert's theories challenge everything, suggesting that time and space are not fixed, that energy and mass are one, that light can act as both a wave and a particle. It is a revolution, a new way of seeing the universe. And for the first time, Albert realizes the magnitude of what he has done. He thinks back to the compass he held as a boy, the way its needle pointed north, guided by an invisible force. Now he understands that same force, that same mystery, in a way he couldn't have imagined back then. He feels both proud and humbled, knowing that his theories are just a small glimpse of the vast universe waiting to be explored. As the year ends, Albert looks back at his work, at the theories that have shaken the foundations of science. He is no longer just a clerk in a patent office. He is Albert Einstein, the man who has dared to question the universe, to see it in a new light, to uncover truths that will echo through history. His journey is far from over, but he knows that he has taken a giant step forward, that he has begun a journey that will forever change the way we see the world. The year 1905 will go down in history as the year of miracles, the year one man opened a door to a new universe, and the world, stunned and amazed, followed him through it. Chapter 8. The Fame and the Shadows. Albert Einstein, a name that now echoes around the world. The man who unlocked the mysteries of the universe, who dared to say that time could bend, that space could stretch, that energy and matter are woven together in ways no one ever imagined. He has become a sensation. Newspapers call him a genius, a revolutionary, even a prophet of science. Everywhere people want to know, who is this man who has changed everything? But fame, though thrilling, casts a long shadow. At first, Albert is amused by the attention. Reporters line up to interview him, photographers snap his picture, scientists from across the globe write to him, seeking answers, wanting to know more. He smiles at the fuss, humoured by the idea of being called a celebrity. He hasn't changed. He's still the same Albert, the boy who once stared at a compass, wondering how it worked. But the world has changed, and it's watching his every move. However, fame brings something else too. Doubt. Critics emerge, voices of suspicion, scientists who think his ideas are too radical, too dangerous. They call him arrogant, say he is reckless, claim he is a threat to everything they've built. To them, he's a young upstart, a man who's come out of nowhere, trying to destroy the foundations of science. Some call him the destroyer of tradition. Others go further, questioning his character, his motives, even his intelligence. Albert hears these criticisms and feels their sting, though he rarely shows it. He knew that challenging the old ideas would be hard, but he never expected such anger, such personal attacks. He watches as some of his former colleagues turn away, distancing themselves from his work, refusing to even consider his ideas. And though he tries to ignore it, tries to rise above, the weight of their judgment is heavy, pressing down on him. Even those who believe in him, who support his theories, want more from him. Explain special relativity, they demand. Prove it. Show us how it works. The questions come faster than he can answer them, and he feels a growing pressure to defend, to prove, to justify everything he's discovered. He becomes exhausted, worn down by the constant attention, the endless questions. He begins to feel like a performer on a stage, always under the spotlight, never able to rest. And then the media steps in, turning his life into headlines, exaggerating his ideas, painting him as a kind of wizard or sorcerer. One newspaper calls him the man who bends time. Another says he has outsmarted nature itself. The public is fascinated, but the truth gets twisted, his work misunderstood, simplified to the point of absurdity. Albert feels himself becoming an icon, a symbol, but the real Albert, the man behind the theories, begins to fade into the background. He grows lonely, isolated. Though he is surrounded by admirers, by colleagues, by people who hang on his every word, he feels a distance between himself and the rest of the world. He misses the quiet days in Bern, the calm of the patent office, the simple life he once led. Fame has created a wall between him and the world, and he finds it harder and harder to reach through it, to connect with others as he once did. At times he wonders if it was worth it. The thrill of discovery, the joy of understanding. Is it enough to bear the weight of this fame? He misses the purity of his work, the feeling of being alone with his thoughts, with the mysteries of the universe. Now his life is full of noise, of praise and criticism, of voices that demand more than he can give. He feels like he's lost something precious, something that no fame or recognition can replace, and yet he endures. He reminds himself of the importance of his work, of the promise he made to himself as a young boy to always seek the truth no matter the cost. He knows that he cannot stop now, that he must keep pushing forward, keep exploring, keep discovering. He tells himself that fame is temporary, that the work he has done, the theories he has revealed, will live on, even if he himself becomes lost in the shadows, but fame has left its mark. Albert has changed, grown quieter, more reserved. He is wary of those who seek him out, cautious of those who praise him too easily. He knows that the world loves to lift people up, but it loves to tear them down too. He becomes more guarded, more careful with his words, his ideas, and as the years pass, he learns to accept the dual nature of fame, the light and the darkness, the joy and the loneliness. In time, Albert will find a way to balance it all, to live with both the praise and the criticism. But for now, he walks a difficult path, a path that few can understand. He is alone, surrounded by people yet set apart by his own brilliance, by the very genius that made him famous. He knows that he will never truly fit in, that he will always be both admired and doubted, celebrated and questioned. Albert Einstein, the genius, the icon, the man who unlocked the secrets of the universe, has discovered something else, something perhaps even more difficult to understand than physics, than space and time. He has discovered the cost of fame and the shadows that it leaves behind. Chapter 9. A family torn apart. Fame, brilliance, discovery. These things come with a price, a heavy price, and for Albert Einstein, that price is paid with the people he loves most. For while the world celebrates him, his family, his wife, his children, feel the weight of his genius in ways that no one else can see. Albert's days are consumed by his work, by the relentless pursuit of knowledge, by the questions that never stop. Equations, theories, meetings, letters. His mind is forever racing, pushing the boundaries of what he knows, of what anyone knows. And though he loves his family, the demands of his work, of his fame, pull him further and further away from them. At the center of his heartache is his wife, Mileva. Once she had been his companion, his partner in thought, a brilliant scientist in her own right. Together, they had dreamed of a life of discovery, of shared ideas, of building something together. But slowly, painfully, their paths began to diverge. Albert's fame grows, and with it, the demands on his time, his energy. The spark that once bound them begins to dim, and arguments take the place of the laughter they once shared. Mileva feels it keenly, the loneliness, the isolation, the feeling of being left behind. She watches as Albert's mind, his heart, drift away, drawn to a world she can no longer reach. She tries to be patient, to understand, to support him. But it is hard, unbearably hard, to live in the shadow of someone the world calls a genius, someone who is praised, admired, sought after by everyone but her. The children feel the distance too. Albert's sons, Hans Albert and Edouard, watch as their father becomes a figure in books and newspapers, a man the world celebrates but who is seldom home. They yearn for his attention, his affection, but he is always elsewhere, always focused on the ideas that fill his mind. And though he loves them deeply, he struggles to show it. The demands of his work, of his fame, leave little room for tenderness, for play, for the simple joys of fatherhood. Albert's heart is heavy. He feels the weight of his choices, the strain it has placed on his family. He knows, deep down, that he cannot be both the scientist the world expects and the husband, the father his family needs. He is torn between two worlds, one filled with the endless excitement of discovery, the other with the warmth and love he craves. But he is only one man, and the price of his genius demands sacrifice. As the years pass, the distance between him and Mileva grows. She becomes resentful, hurt, angry at the man who was once her closest friend. They argue more often, their voices raised in frustration, in sadness, in regret. She reminds him of the life they once dreamed of the promises they made. But to Albert, those dreams feel like a distant memory, a world he cannot return to. The theories, the discoveries, the mysteries of the universe have taken hold of him, and he cannot let go. Finally, the strain becomes too great. Albert and Mileva part ways, their marriage ending in silence, in sorrow. The separation is painful, not only for them but for their children, who feel the loss of their family, their father, in ways they cannot express. Albert knows that he has hurt them, that his choices have left scars that may never heal. And though he tries to make amends, to be there for his sons, the distance remains. With Mileva gone, Albert's life becomes one of solitude, of loneliness. The praise, the admiration, the fame, it all feels hollow, empty, without the warmth of family, of love. He has given the world his ideas, his mind, but he has lost a part of himself in the process, a part that no amount of success can replace. In moments of quiet, he thinks of his children, wonders if they will understand, if they will forgive him. He writes letters, sends gifts, tries to bridge the distance, but it never feels like enough. He knows that they see him as a figure, a distant presence, not as a father, and it breaks his heart, this knowledge that he can never fully be there for them, that the very work that has brought him fame has also brought them pain. The years go by, and Albert's family remains a distant presence in his life, a shadow that lingers, a reminder of the cost of his genius. He finds comfort in his work, in the pursuit of knowledge, but there is a part of him that is always longing, always searching for the love he has lost, for the family he can never fully reclaim. Albert Einstein, the man the world calls a genius, the father of modern physics, carries this pain, this regret, with him always. For the price of his brilliance, of his discoveries, was paid not only by him, but by those he loved. Chapter 10. The General Theory of Relativity. Albert Einstein returns to his work with a renewed purpose, a mission. He is no longer just the young patent clerk with strange ideas. He is now a man driven by something far greater, a vision of reality that no one else can yet see. Years of study, endless hours of thought, the countless nights spent alone, wrestling with equations, staring into the vastness of his own mind. And now he is close, so close. The journey has not been easy. Critics have doubted him, colleagues have turned away, and the world itself has seemed indifferent at times. But none of that matters now. Albert knows he is on the edge of a discovery unlike anything the world has ever known. a new way of understanding reality itself, a way of seeing the universe as a tapestry, where space and time are not separate but woven together, bending, stretching, curving. His masterpiece is ready, the general theory of relativity. The theory proposes something audacious, something almost unbelievable, that massive objects like stars can bend the fabric of space and time around them. That light, that very essence of speed and energy, will bend as it passes through these curves, bending like a river flowing around a rock. It's a vision that challenges everything that came before, a theory that breaks free from the ideas of Newton, from the idea of a rigid, unchanging space. Albert sends his theory out into the world, nervous but proud. He knows that his ideas are bold, that they will be met with skepticism, with disbelief. But he also knows, deep within, that this theory is true. It has to be. He has tested it, has explored every angle, every equation, and it all fits together, a perfect puzzle, a vision of the universe in balance. The scientific world reacts with shock, excitement, wonder. Scientists across the globe debate, discuss, argue. Some praise him as a visionary, a man who has seen beyond the limitations of known science. Others dismiss him as a dreamer, a man lost in his own imagination. But Albert doesn't waver. He knows that his theory will only be proven with time, that all he needs is one piece of evidence, one moment that will reveal the truth of his ideas to the world. That moment comes in 1919, during a solar eclipse. Teams of scientists gather in far-off locations, ready to observe the stars as the moon passes in front of the sun. According to Einstein's theory, the light from those stars will bend as it travels around the sun, curving through space just as he predicted. It's a test that will confirm or deny everything he has worked for, everything he has dreamed. The eclipse occurs, the observations are made, and the results are undeniable. Einstein was right. The stars appear where his theory said they would, shifted by the bending of light. Proof that space itself is curved by the gravity of massive objects. The world is stunned. Headlines shout his name. Einstein proves Newton wrong. The theory of relativity confirmed. In that moment, Albert Einstein becomes a global sensation, a hero, the man who has redefined reality itself. For the first time, he feels the weight of his achievement, the thrill of having seen something that no one else could see. But as the excitement fades, as the voices of praise grow distant, Albert finds himself once again alone with his thoughts. The success, the recognition, it brings him joy, yes. But it also brings doubt, questions that linger in the quiet of his mind. What if he is wrong about something else? What if there are things he cannot understand, things that will remain forever beyond his reach? The pressure to be the man the world sees, to be Einstein, the genius, weighs heavily on him. He feels the isolation that comes with being the only one to understand, the only one to see. The fame is thrilling, but it is also isolating, creating a distance between him and everyone around him. Albert knows that he has achieved something extraordinary, that his theory will change the way people see the universe for generations. But he also feels the cost of that achievement, the sacrifices he has made along the way. His family, his friendships, his own peace of mind, all have been given up, piece by piece, for the pursuit of knowledge, for the love of understanding. And yet he cannot stop. He knows that the universe holds more secrets, that there is still so much to learn, so much to discover. The doubts, the loneliness, the pain, they are all part of his journey, a journey he cannot abandon. For Albert Einstein, the pursuit of truth, of understanding, is worth every sacrifice, every shadow. He has given the world a new way of seeing, a new way of understanding. He has bent the very fabric of reality itself, leaving a legacy that will endure. But as he looks up at the stars, he knows that the journey is far from over, that there are still mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Chapter 11. The Refugee and the Advocate. The 1930s, a time of darkness, of growing shadows across Europe. Albert Einstein, now in his 50s, sees his beloved Germany changing before his eyes, transforming into something he cannot recognize, something he cannot bear. The rise of anti-Semitism, the hateful speeches, the violent attacks, the cruel laws. The brilliant physicist, once celebrated in his homeland, finds himself suddenly unwelcome, his very existence threatened. Albert had always been proud of his German roots, of the culture, the language, the traditions. This was his homeland, the place that had once honored him, the place where he had grown from a curious boy into a man of science. But as the political storm grows, he realizes he is no longer safe. He receives threats, sees friends and colleagues fall silent, turn away, as if his very presence is now a danger. It is a betrayal he feels deep in his heart, a wound that will never fully heal. Forced to make an agonizing decision, Albert leaves Germany, his home, his past, and becomes a refugee. He crosses the ocean to America, a country that welcomes him with open arms, where he can continue his work without fear. But the journey is bittersweet. As he looks back at the shores he once called home, he knows he will never return. Germany is lost to him now, forever. Arriving in America, Albert feels both relief and sorrow. This new land is strange, unfamiliar, and though he is welcomed, honored, even celebrated, he feels the ache of loss, of the home that has turned its back on him. But he cannot dwell on the past. He knows he must move forward, that he has a responsibility, not just as a scientist, but as a voice for peace, for justice. For while he may have left Germany, he cannot leave behind his values, his beliefs. He sees the pain of war, the suffering of innocent people, and he cannot remain silent. He becomes more than just a physicist. He becomes an advocate, a voice against the rising tide of hatred and violence. He speaks out in public, in lectures, in newspapers, condemning the actions of those who spread fear and destruction. Science and peace must walk hand in hand, he says. What good is knowledge if it only leads to war? His words resonate, stirring people to think, to question. He becomes a symbol, not just of brilliance, but of compassion, of courage, a man who stands for peace in a world torn apart by conflict. But fame and advocacy come at a price. His outspoken stance makes him a target. He faces criticism, even hatred, from those who see him as a threat to their ideals, their power. Some accuse him of meddling, of being a foreigner who does not understand. Yet he continues, undeterred. He knows that his voice, his words are needed now more than ever. In these moments, Albert feels a new kind of purpose, one that goes beyond the equations, beyond the theories. He realizes that he is fighting not just for science, but for humanity, for a world where knowledge is used to uplift, not destroy. And though he misses his homeland, feels the weight of exile every day, he knows that his fight is here, in this new land that has become his refuge. The years go by and Albert grows older. He sees the world changing around him, sees the storm of war gathering again, the pain of his lost homeland, the sorrow for the Germany he once loved, still lingers in his heart. But he carries on, using his voice, his fame, his influence to advocate for a world of understanding, of tolerance, of peace. Albert Einstein, the refugee, the advocate, has found a new purpose. Though he can never return to the land of his birth, he knows that his journey, his life, has meaning, that he has become a beacon for those who dream of a world free from hate. Chapter 12. The Relativity of a Life. Albert Einstein, now an old man, sits alone, surrounded by the quiet of his small room in Princeton. The world outside knows him as a legend, a genius, the father of modern physics. But in this stillness, he is simply Albert. The journey, the triumphs, the questions that have driven him all his life, they all come rushing back, each memory a spark, a reminder of the relentless curiosity that has been his closest companion. He remembers the boy he once was, that quiet child in Germany, fascinated by the mysteries of a small compass, watching its needle point north as if by magic. It was that compass that opened his mind to the unseen forces in the world, that showed him the power of wonder, of questions. And all these years later, after changing the course of science itself, he is still that boy in many ways. Still searching, still wondering, still driven by an endless thirst to know, to understand. His life has been one of immense discoveries and deep sacrifices. He has reached heights he could never have imagined, unlocked mysteries that no one before him could grasp. Yet he has also felt the pain of exile, the ache of family lost, the loneliness that comes with fame. His work has demanded everything from him, his time, his peace even at times, his happiness. And now, as he reflects on it all, he wonders if it was worth it, if he has given too much to the world. But then he remembers the lives he has touched, the minds he has inspired. He knows that his theories, his vision of a universe where time bends, where light curves, where energy and mass are one, these ideas will live on, will continue to shape the world long after he is gone. For Albert, this is what matters most, that he has added to the vast tapestry of human understanding, that he has helped others to see a glimpse of the beauty he has found in the fabric of reality. His favourite words echo in his mind. The important thing is not to stop questioning. He has lived by these words, has made them his guiding principle, his compass. For he knows that the universe is boundless, that there will always be questions yet unanswered, mysteries yet unsolved. And this, he believes, is the essence of life itself: to seek, to wonder, to never settle for what is known, but to reach for what is still hidden. As he sits in his chair, gazing at the simple things around him, he feels a strange peace, a sense of fulfillment. He knows that he has given the world a gift, a new way of seeing, of understanding, and though he has not found every answer, though his life has been filled with trials and struggles, he feels a quiet satisfaction, a feeling that he has done his part. The end draws near, and Albert senses it. His body is weary, his mind slowing, but his spirit is undimmed. He takes a deep breath, his thoughts drifting to the stars, to the universe that has been his lifelong companion. He feels the connection, the vastness, the timeless beauty of it all. And as he closes his eyes, he knows that his journey, his work, his life are all part of something greater, something eternal. Albert Einstein takes his final breath, leaving behind a legacy that will live on forever, as boundless and timeless as the universe itself.